Welcome. Thank you for joining us for this virtual session of Community Connect, where the heart of public transit meets the voices of our community. My name is Chuck Stewart, Chief Operating Officer for Metro Transit, and I'm very happy that you are with us today. We've got a lot of great things going on at Metro, and my team is very eager to share that information with you. And we thought that this online session of Community Connect would be the perfect opportunity to do that. So we have an agenda, as you see. You know, we operate on schedules at Metro, so we have a schedule for this program as well. I will be introducing the members of my team as they provide you with various updates. These are the same people who work very hard to deliver our services to you, and I appreciate them being here and making themselves available to you. Here's the plan. We've already started our welcome, so we'll move to a brief housekeeping session, an introduction of Community Connect next. Following that, we'll share some of the most recent news and accomplishments along with upcoming programs to be on the lookout for. Our team will present project and construction updates, as well as closures that would impact your ride. You'll hear from our planning teams on the next service change and adjustments to our system. Finally, we'll chat collectively about what ideas, questions, and input you have for us. Before we get started, there are a few housekeeping items that Whitney Wilson would like to go over with you.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chuck. I'm Whitney Wilson. I'm our Manager of Consumer Engagement at Metro Transit. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us again. It's been an active week or 2 weeks, and we're just glad to see everyone collected here at once. Before we get started, just a few things. First of all, make sure you're muting yourself until you wish for us to hear you, because otherwise we will hear everything you have going on, and it sort of is disruptive of the presentation that we're trying to say. We do have a lot of great information to share with you, and we want to get through all of it, but this is a collaboration. So our timekeeper will be pushing our team to stay on time, so there's plenty of time at the end for your questions and your input. Throughout the presentation, you can leave some of those questions or comments or input that you have for us in the chat room, or you may wait until the end and raise your hand to speak. If you are on a phone, you're just calling in, you can use the *9 keys on your phone to raise your hand, and also use it again to take your hand down when you have been called on. On your computer, a shortcut for the Zoom to raise your hand, along with clicking the raise hand button, you can use Alt-Y if you're on Windows or Option-Y on a Mac. That will toggle your hand up and down. So we will address as many of your questions as possible during that Q&A period. Again, just please be mindful of time. Just understand we might need to move along if there are a lot of people lined up, just so everyone has a turn. Finally, we are recording this session with the captions on. But everyone, if you want to see the captions as we're going along today, you need to click the closed caption button on Zoom. So it's in that option bar. And I think we're ready to go.
Okay, very good. We'll get started. Whitney, can you tell us a little more about Community Connect as well?
I would love to. This month has been our inaugural launch of Community Connect. So we started with our in-person sessions last week. We had another one yesterday, and we're finishing up, as we will always plan to do, with a virtual gathering. Community Connect is your platform to interact directly with Metro Transit teams. hear about the latest updates, and influence the decisions that shape your daily commute. Together, we'll explore the latest news, upcoming changes, and strategies for a sustainable, efficient, and user-focused transit system. Bottom line is, we heard you. We know that you want better access to our teams and our information and what we have going on all the time, and we want the same. These events will grow as we gather momentum. If you've been present for any of the first 3 meetings, you'll notice they've just been open house style. They're pretty casual, pretty basic information, the things that we know that you want to hear from us. But as we get going, they're going to develop into more interactive events that will be entertaining as well as informing. We really want people to come and enjoy their time when they're with us. So we'll switch it up. We'll dive into smaller spaces, larger venues, transit centers, community parks, really anywhere that we need to be to get closer to the community. These are intended to reach everyone, not just our transit customers, an open forum because everyone needs Metro, whether they ride or not. So these sessions are aimed at driving that point and connecting all of our ideas.
Okay, well, thank you, Whitney. So Whitney's multitasking, so she's advancing the slides as well. So, but we'll get there. So now we're going to go into our session where we're going to start giving you some recent news and updates and upcoming programs. And we're going to start that out with a few exciting things that are going on. And Trinice Winters is going to walk us through that.
So we'll get started with something I'm very pleased to share with you. A few weeks ago, the St. Louis Attractions Association honored a revered member of my team with the Spirit of St. Louis Award. Terry Fondren, a Metrobus service area manager, is the first Metro Transit team member to receive this prestigious award. It is given annually to honor an individual who has gone the extra mile and put forth exemplary effort in helping to further the goals, objective, and spirit of tourism and hospitality industry. Metro Transit is not traditionally viewed as a tourist attraction, but people like Terry prove that we are every bit a part of welcoming and caring for the people in our region and as the best and more than just the best 5-star hotels and major tourist attractions. Terry was nominated because of his outstanding dedication to our mission of serving the people of St. Louis. He exemplifies a caring spirit every day he shows up to work. But this story from early January really shows just why he's one of our best. Terry was responding to an accident to assist one of our transit service managers and noticed a young lady and her child outside in the cold. One early frigid morning. He pulled over to see if he could accommodate them with a ride, and this young lady shared that she had been put out of the hotel because she did not have money to stay another night. Terry went into the hotel and asked the manager if he could pay for her to stay another night, and the manager agreed. This encounter upset Terry because it was not only below 0 degrees that morning, but she was with a child. After that experience, he still showed up to one of our job fairs before being sent home by me so he can get some rest. I'm very proud of our team members who continue this level of service every day.
Okay, so let's continue, Trinice. We had a recent rodeo celebration. Tell us about that.
Yes. So every once in a while, we're invited to have a little fun with the Cardinals. Last month, we had a special opportunity to throw out the first pitch, and it was with a great reason to share the skills that our transit team members demonstrate to keep us safely moving. Veteran Metrobus operator Bobby Morris, pictured here, received an honor because he was our winning operator of our Metrobus rodeo competition. This competition puts our drivers as well as our mechanics up against each other in a series of timed skills and tasks that is fun to watch, but also shows their craft and knowledge. Bobby won our driving competition, and a team of mechanics, Jamie Kenyon, Ryan Lang, and Josh Maloney, won the mechanic portion of the competition. All of these guys went on to represent St. Louis Metro region at the Aptos International Bus Rodeo in Portland, Oregon. This competition is held every year, and while we did not place internationally, Metro was very proud to have our team members hanging with the very best of the best operators and mechanics in public transit. So congratulations to Ryan, Jamie, Josh, and Bobby. Chuck?
So if you've never experienced a bus rodeo, it's quite an experience. It shows off the skills of our drivers and our mechanics. I had the pleasure of doing a little driving myself, and I have a video to prove it. And I did quite well, at least according to the video. So let's move on. Our next presenter will be Lisa Cagle. Lisa's going to tell us a little bit about the Youth Pass, Go Summer Youth Pass. Lisa?
Okay, thanks everybody. So we're really pleased to announce the return of the Gateway Go Summer Youth Pass on June 1st. You can go ahead and buy them at the Metro store right now. The program helps young people in our region to have access to new opportunities that pave the way to successful lives and careers in our region. That gets them out there and gives them an opportunity for a job or just to go to a cultural event. It's a really cool program. So it's intended for youth between the ages of 13 and 25. And it can be any youth anywhere in our region. I know the city has a program that's just for city youth, but this summer program is open to any youth in the region. And the price is $80 for a 3-month pass that's valid between June 1st and August 31st. So that's basically 3 months for about the price of one pass. So it's a pretty good deal for folks. Now it's only available for use on fixed routes. So it'll only be Metro Bus or Metro Link that you can use it on. You can't use it on Via or Call a Ride. And the passes are available at the Metro store, as I said. We encourage group sales, and you can coordinate those ahead of time by calling our team at 314-982-1495 or visiting the Metro store at 801 Pine Street, St. Louis, Missouri, 63101. That's downtown if you're familiar with it. We're excited to have it back again this year. This is almost every summer since 2018. So that's it.
Well, thank you very much, Lisa. Before we move on to some of our bigger projects that we want to update you on, I want to give you a little update on our recruitment efforts. Everybody knows that we've been looking for drivers, we're looking for bus operators, call-a-ride operators, Metrolink operators, mechanics. We have made last 2 events we've had in April and May. We've had over 271 applicants and made 199 on-the-spot job offers. But our quest continues. We're in pretty good shape right now as it relates to bus operators, but we're still very much in need of call-a-ride operators and very much in need of mechanics. We still have our $5,000 sign-on bonus going for those 2 particular areas. We're gearing up right now. Our next hiring event is Saturday, June 8th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at our Illinois Metro Bus facility, 801 North 47th Street in East St. Louis. So if you need a job, you want to work for a great company like Metro, then come on over, go online, fill out an application, and we'll be glad to interview, and hopefully we can make a offer on the spot to you as well. If you're not interested in the job, but you know somebody who is, please send them our way. Next, I'm going to hand things over to Jessica Gershman. Jessica is our Assistant Executive Director of Planning and Systems, and she's going to give us an update on the Metrolink Green Line.
Thanks, Chuck. Yeah, so this is a project that we hope that you have seen out there for other public meetings, and as we've rebranded it, formerly called the North Side, South Side project, but I'm excited to share the progress and an update about where we are today very briefly with the Green Line project. So this is proposed light rail service that would traverse the city of St. Louis, north and south, primarily along Jefferson Avenue, and it would intersect with the existing red and blue line Metrolink service. And so that's sort of in a nutshell what we're talking about here. The project goals include extending access to jobs, opportunities, education, to healthcare that you need to reach, especially for those individuals with limited transportation options. And this project is unique because while there's a lot of light rail investment across the country that might be going into places, regions that have, have been the recipient of federal dollars year in, year over, particularly on the coasts. We represent a mid-sized city that has been historically underinvested by federal government for transportation dollars. And we are looking to correct that pattern and use this as a catalytic investment to help spur further development along this corridor in North and South St. Louis. Next slide, please. This is just a quick nutshell of where we are. Again, this is a project that formerly called North Side, South Side, was first studied in 2008. Again, was studied in 2017 and 18. And then most recently, last year, we progressed to and passed 15% design. So sort of those preliminary engineering steps in 2023 that ended at the end of last calendar year. Notably, I'd like to also point out that in 2017, citizens of the city of St. Louis passed a half-cent sales tax that was dedicated to economic development and specifically light rail service in a north-south corridor. So the citizens of St. Louis made sure to begin putting away money for the local match, which is a necessary component of building such a catalytic and large-scale investment such as the Green Line project. And that began several years ago now, which is great. So moving on to the present day, like I mentioned, the end of last calendar year, we completed 15% design, and we've moved past that. Notably, this past February, East-West Gateway Council of Governments, which is our region's metropolitan planning organization, the main recipient of transportation funds from the federal level to the region, their board adopted a modified locally preferred alternative, meaning the alignment, the where the line goes, and how it was altered was adopted. And that was a big step for our region to sort of give that approval of moving forward with the project. Today, we have moved into environmental review and we're pushing into 30% design. So if you go to the next slide, we can talk a little bit more about the actual alignment that's being studied. You'll find here a map on the right of this slide, and it shows the alignment, which has 10 stations, 3 proposed additional stations that are under consideration through the design phase. And it begins going from north to south at Fairground Park at the intersection of Grand Boulevard and Natural Bridge, continues east along Natural Bridge, and then heads south along Parnell, which then becomes Jefferson. So there's this is a direct route. It is a 5.6 mile route that gets across the city north to south, and like I said, connects in the middle at Scott Avenue to our existing Metrolink. So that'll be a key transfer point where basically it opens up the world to folks that might be in north or south and are looking for a more direct and quick connection to existing light rail service. So like I mentioned, there's 10 stations and there's a lot more detail in each of them, but I don't want to gloss over it, but I want to make sure we're moving along. So we'll go to the next slide, please. This slide shows an early draft rendering of what it could look like, but the key component here to talk about is that this is dedicated in-street light rail that is being proposed. So many of you probably have been on Jefferson, either in any number of transportation modes, and you see that it's wide enough to accommodate what we need to take within the right of way for light rail service. So it would be dedicated. There would be signal prioritization, very close and sophisticated signalization that would help the train interact with single occupancy vehicles, with bike lanes, with pedestrians using the sidewalks. And so this is just meant to show that modern light rail can fit in with the modes that are already there in Jefferson's corridor. Next slide, please. So moving on to the phase we're in today, which is environmental review. You might hear the term NEPA, which is an acronym for National Environmental Policy Act. This is basically an overarching federal set of regulations that make sure that transportation investments such as these are evaluated under great scrutiny against a number of environmental factors. This process of going through NEPA is going to take us a year. We've just embarked on it this past spring, this past month. So this time next year, we'll be wrapping up the assessment. A key part of this NEPA phase is hearing from you all, is public input, is understanding and unearthing your concerns. I was at a great public meeting last night where I had the excellent question, what do we mean by environmental? Are we talking about the climate? Are we talking about the people? And the answer is both. So if you don't mind going to the next slide, I'm not going to read you the full list of these, but this is the battery of potential things that are being studied. And I will point out a few here that we've already begun hearing from the public about. This is, a historic corridor. There was trolley service, streetcar service along with Jefferson not too long ago. So I think a lot of folks are sort of used to seeing it used in that way. Nevertheless, we are studying all those sort of classic environmental factors, air quality, of course, looking at like what's underground. Not as concerned with the land use, but of course, we're going through all of those phases. Things that have come up so far are making sure we're being really careful about the historic concerns and archaeological. There's a lot of 100-year-old structures along the corridor. Let's make sure that we are being careful with them, and any preservation mitigation needs to be taken. Noise and vibration is another category that we'll be studying very, very carefully to that end with historic structures. So all of these will be studied throughout this coming year, and we will be having a number of continuing meetings, particularly in the fall. We're going to get into more station design. So keep your ears and eyes and everything open to more opportunities for input about, lighting, pedestrian environment, what the stations will look like, because that's all going to be stuff that we're continuing to work on. Next slide, please. And this is the key one. This is really maybe the only one that needs to be up here, which is please give us your input. There is a URL here, and I'll read it out. It's metrolinkgreenline.com. From there, you can complete a comment form. You can get all sorts of additional information. We have fact sheets up there and a lot of other ways to get and stay involved. Please do so, because it's a critical part of the planning and the engineering that we're working on now. And I believe that's it.
Well, thank you very much, Jessica. Our next section is on the Secure Platform project. I think you've heard all about that. Missy Webb, our Director of Security Media and Customer Engagement, is not able to give this update today. So Tim Nittler, our Senior Director of Capital Projects, is going to fill in, and he's going to at least talk about the construction aspects of SPP. Tim.
Thank you, sir. And good afternoon, everyone. Oh, I've got a bad echo. Hang on a minute. Okay, that's better. Sorry about that. The Secure Platform project is a three-pronged approach to increase security on our system. So it's the installation of hundreds of additional security cameras, the installation of security fencing, as you can see on the screen, and then also installation of gates at the entry points to our platforms. So go ahead to the next slide, please, Whitney. All in all, we've got 6 different construction packages that will move forward into completion of this project. Currently, we have 2 packages under construction. The first one is in Illinois at the 4 listed locations: JJK, College, Emerson Park, and Washington Park. That project is slated to be complete in July of this summer. So that one is a little ahead of the rest. Package number 2, we just started construction on that within the past couple of weeks. We've been doing some clearing of brush and whatnot and getting ready to install fencing along several of the locations that you see listed there, all of which are in the city of St. Louis. So that package is slated for construction completion in the fall of this year. Go ahead to the next one. We've got a few slides here of photos of some of the installation of the fencing that we've been putting in along the alignment at Washington Park, JJK. Here's a rendering of what we expect the gates at Washington Park to look like once they're in. As you can see, it's a fairly standard layout of 2 different types of gates. Here's the ones that are going in at Emerson Park. This was the first location to receive the gates. They are currently installed, but they are not completed yet. We still have some work to do with them. So if you're at Park, you can see what they're going to look like. Just know that we're not complete yet. We still have a roof system to put in, but all that should be coming together sometime in the next month or 2, and completion, as I stated, in July of the summer. The gates that we're putting in, 2 different types. One is if you could back up 1 slide, please. One is a full size ADA compliant gate. And then the second one is a turnstile type gate. Both of these gates will have scanners on them so that you can present your fare, and then the gate will unlock and allow passage through. A couple more photos. This is at College Station. You can see the fencing that's being installed. Here's a rendering of the Cortex station, the fare gate array that will be installed there. So I mentioned there are 6 different packages. Package 3 through 6 are all slated for completion of our design in November of this year. We will then move into construction procurement with a January bid opening, with the construction of these locations taking place in 2025. So we have package 3 and 4 is a bulk or the bulk of the remaining locations within the St. Louis area. Go ahead, Whitney. Here's a quick rendering of what the Laclede's landing station will look like. Skinker Station, Big Bend, and then the last 2 packages, one more package in Illinois. We'll knock out all the remaining locations in Illinois, and then package 6 will be the remaining stations on the Missouri side. So as I stated, all the packages are slated to be complete with construction in the year of 2025. There is a monthly report that is put together. If people are interested in getting on the mailing list, there is a link there. Whitney, I'm not sure how we could get that link out to everybody. Maybe we could copy it into the chat in order for people to sign up for that monthly newsletter if they want. And
Okay,
then on,
well, Tim, we got more construction and closures that you're going to report on?
I do. So one important thing to note about Secure Platform, none of the locations will require a closure of the existing platforms. We are providing access at all times to our existing platforms. People may have to walk around a little bit, but we're trying to lessen the impacts as we can on Secure Platform. But we do have some additional projects that are going to cause some station closures as well as some single tracking. So the first I want to talk about is a combination project of 8th and Pine and also the Convention Center. So 8th and Pine is currently under construction, and what we're doing there is we're removing the escalators and we're going to build staircases back in where the escalators were previously. Currently, that location is closed and is bypassed with no access to patrons at that location right now. We are slated to finish construction in early fall, and then we'll transition to the convention center location. Next slide, please. So it's similar convention center. We'll remove the escalators and build staircases back. That project, as I stated, will start after 8th and Pine is complete, and then we'll move into construction, and we expect the construction of both projects to be wrapped up in early winter of 2025. And then a quick update on the Mid-America Airport extension. Exciting project for us, the first extension we've had in quite a while. This project is a 5.5-mile extension of our current Metrolink line from Shiloh Sky to a new station at the Mid-America Airport. So as you can see on the slide, the existing red dash line is our current train alignment. We are constructing what is shown in a green line on that map. It kind of wraps up and around the Scott Air Force Base runways, also around the Mid-America runways, and then ties into a new station near the parking lot at Mid-America. So the construction is underway. This is a good photo that kind of shows the magnitude of what we're doing out there. This project is being built by St. Clair County Transit District and their contractors. It's progressing as planned. We don't expect any impacts to our existing Metrolink service at this time. And then next, completion of the project is expected in 2026. The construction will wrap up, and then we'll have a series of safety tests and operational tests that we need to complete, but it'll all be done in 2026. And then 2 more quick updates on a couple of other projects that are going to require some single tracking time. The downtown tunnel standpipe replacement. Currently, we're working through some design issues on that one, but we expect the construction to start this summer, and that will require single tracks to be put into place during the evening hours and also on weekends. And then last but not least is our Union Station tunnel rehab. That project will also require single tracking through the limits of the tunnel. Construction is scheduled to begin later this summer. We have bid documents that are ready to go out to be bid by contractors. Expectations will issue notice to proceed later this summer with a 3-year construction contract, or a 3-year construction duration expected.
Excuse me, Tim, there's just a quick question regarding 8th and Pine and the convention center stations. Someone wanted to know, how will people who use wheelchairs at those stations get around if there are no elevators and there are stairs put in, or will there be ramps?
There will still be elevators. We're removing the escalators. The escalators that were automated to take people down to the platform level, but the elevators are not being impacted. You will still be able to access all the elevators at all the locations. Hope that answered the question.
Yep. Well, thank you, Tim. Great update. Now we're going to talk about our June 17th service change. As I mentioned earlier, as a result of our success in attracting and retaining operators, especially bus operators, we're now in the midst of making changes to our service. It's allowing us to concentrate more on frequency and reliability. And Jessica is going to come back, and along with Lisa Cagle, our Assistant General Manager of Paratransit Systems and Innovation, and talk about our service changes that will be coming up in June. Ladies?
Correct. So yes, Mr. Stewart nailed it on the head. We are in a position where finally there's a bunch of routes we've been wanting to increase service on in the form of more frequent buses. And we're in a better position to do so. So for Monday, June 17th, we'll be adjusting service on 23 Metrobus routes, 22 in Missouri and 1 in Illinois. 3 of those are minor adjustments to routing to improve sort of the efficiency of the route and the service of the route. And 15 of those are increasing frequency. So having more bus service at different times of day and different days of the week, and we can get further into that. Notably, that third bullet, we will be resuming evening service past 8 p.m. on 4 routes in North County, which is something we've long wanted to be able to bring back. And Lisa will speak to the impacts of that Metro bus change on Call a Ride in just a minute. And then there are several routes we're adjusting, as we typically do at that quarterly service change cadence, to make better connections to bus and train and to improve on-time performance. There won't be any changes to Metrolink this go around. And as of next Monday, those schedules will be available up online, and our feed will be updated, so you can go ahead and look at Transit app or Google Maps or the platform of your choice to get the upcoming schedules. So next slide, please. We can kind of dig into, this is a long list. I'm not going to itemize all of them, but I will call out that a number of these are routes that will have improved frequency at nighttime. Several routes we've still had on 120-minute service, and we're able to increase that up to hourly service. So that's really great. Makes it a lot easier to plan your life around. And there are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 routes. The number 61 Chambers, the 73 Carondelet, the 74 Florissant, and the 95 Kings Highway that we will be resuming 20-minute weekday service on. So that's fantastic. In addition, I would highlight that the 70 Grand will be returning to weekday service at a 12-minute cadence from its current 15. And again, that is because the ridership is there. The passengers are there. These are routes that carry a lot of people, and we feel like you can better plan your life around transit and be a little bit more spontaneous in your travel planning if we have buses coming more often. So we're doing our best to increase frequency everywhere that we can. Next slide, please. And I will just highlight again that evening improvements in North County. 4 routes highlighted here, the number 60, the number 76, the number 78, and the number 79. We will be able to restore service after 8 p.m. through the typical midnight to 1 a.m. End of service that the rest of the service area experiences, again, due to having enough operators, and also Call a Ride being able to handle that increase in our span of service. So this is really important to us. And I'd like to, I believe, turn it over to Lisa to talk a little bit more about the impacts to Call a Ride.
Yes, thanks, Jess. So anytime that we do service changes with fixed route with Metrobus or with Metrolink, in terms of where those routes go or the span of service of those routes, that can have an impact on Call a Ride. So right now, we're kind of limiting Call a Ride service to the same times and places that our fixed route runs, so the same times and places that Metrobus and Metrolink operate, with a 3/4 mile buffer around those places. So some of the Metrobus route or time changes will have a modest impact on Call a Ride here on June 17th. So that the map that was just up was just sort of showing our whole service area currently with the buffer around it that is the Call a Ride service area. And then this map that you see on the screen now is showing those 4 routes in North County, north of Chambers Roads primarily, that will have a little bit of an impact on Call a Ride service area. So again, the 60, the 76, the 70, and the 79 will be coming back after 8 p.m. That's what the routes that you're seeing here in orange and green, kind of all going together there. But that gray area is showing you the area that will be impacted after 8 p.m. for Call a Ride. So what that means is that Right now, we don't have service in those areas after 8 p.m. because there are not routes running in those areas after 8 p.m. On June 17th, when there will be routes running in these areas after 8 p.m., there also will be caller ride service available at those places. So that's how it impacts caller ride when we have a service change. And we are happy to talk more about that, but wanting to inform the public about how our everyday or our annual and quarterly service changes impact all the different modes. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Lisa and Jessica. So now we're going to talk a little more about caller ride, some of the other changes that are taking place there. I would like to introduce Cynthia Scott, our new General Manager of Paratransit. And Cynthia, why don't you tell us about your other system updates that are going on and introduce us to your team.
Sure. I'd like to say good afternoon to everyone. It is my pleasure to introduce our team and share with you some of the changes that we're making here at Caller Ride. Once again, like Mr. Stewart said, I am the acting general manager here with Caller Ride. I want you guys to know that we are actively working on lowering our denials, customer service, retaining and hiring our operators, and our on-time performance. We gather as a team, and this is our team, every morning, working on all of the above, everything that I've just spoke about. We're excited to come together. There's a lot of knowledge here and a lot of experience. And when we come together, we're sharing all of our knowledge and our experience. We're putting out all of our suggestions, and we're working on this daily. Our denials are coming down. We're excited about that. We are retaining our operators. We're excited about that. We're working on a path to excellent customer service. That is our goal, excellence in customer service. So let me go ahead and introduce our team here at Caller Ride. I have Christina Dieters. She is the manager of customer service. Allison Driscoll, she is the paratransit analyst. Lisa Cagle is our assistant general manager of paratransit systems and innovation. And then we have Sean Murray, director of operations. And thank you. We welcome your questions.
So what about how are we doing with our phone system updates?
I'm gonna speak on our phone system updates.
Okay.
So, as you all know, we switched to a new phone tree a couple months ago, which seems to be working well, where everybody just calls one number and you can get any of our departments that you need. What has changed is this past Friday, we switched to a new phone service provider, which gives us more call paths agency-wide, which means for you that it will be, you'll be able to get through on our Friday mornings, which are always hectic. You'll be able to get through easier. You will, you'll be able to have less waiting in the queue. That's gonna be an issue that we've had. I know this past weekend we had issues with incoming and outgoing phone calls. That all got resolved. This past Tuesday, we had an issue yesterday where we had an outage. I believe it lasted about an hour. They also found that issue and fixed it. I know our IT team is working diligently with our new phone service provider to make sure that that doesn't happen in the future. But this is all part of this is the next step of the plan to make it so that more paths are available for people to get a hold of us for any issues that you may have. And that's the new updates that we have. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Caller Ride team. Thank you for stepping up and going to bat for our Caller Ride customers. We as a company are committed to providing the best service possible to our ADA community and our community at large. And we will continue to seek perfection in that area. Next, I'd like to introduce Amy Parker. Amy is our Director of ADA Services, and she's going to talk about this reservation window question that we had on the table and what we're going to do about it. what we're going to do about the results that we got. Amy?
Unmuting helps. Thank you, Chuck.
All
Good afternoon, everyone. I am excited to share an update about our consideration of adjustments to the Colorado reservations window. I am excited because this process is the start of a new era in terms of how we engage with, listen to, and work together with you, our customers. So as you know, we started engaging with you about changing the reservations window for Colorado back in the beginning of April. So we spent April listening to your thoughts and ideas, and then we've spent May looking at the data, the concerns that you shared with us, and the alternative ideas that you presented. So now we have taken that information and formulated a plan. And that plan's intent is to meet your needs in the best way that we can. Next slide, please. Spoiler alert here. Got a big yellow sign that says spoiler alert. We are not going to implement next day only reservations in July, but I guess many people here already know that. So let me say it again. We are not going to move to next day only reservations for Colorado in July. We are going to spend the rest of May and June getting the word out to everyone about what we're going to do. And there is a minor change that we will implement on July 5th. It's no secret that Colorado is struggling to deliver all the important trips that we must, and we've made some tough decisions since last spring. While things are less horrible, we still have a ways to go. Mr. Roach and Mr. Stewart remind us that we are making progress, but not perfection yet. And we know that there's not one single solution that will get us back to where we need to be. So attracting and keeping qualified operators takes time. Negotiating a new labor contract took time. Procuring new dispatching software takes time. There are some changes to the way we do things that can help us be more efficient and better able to provide more trips with our current resources, even as we keep working on making those bigger changes to increase our resource pool. And one of these changes has to do with the Colorado reservations booking window. So I want to tell you about the information that we gathered. We received 157 comments during that public comment period in April. So most of these comments came from Colorado customers or their caregivers. And of these 157 comments, one response was from an AD member advocacy group called SMART, that stands for St. Louis Metropolitan Alliance for Reliable Transit. And one response was emailed, and it was from 30 to 40 individuals who provided us with their first name. 50 comments explicitly said that they did not want next day only reservations. 44 comments showed a desire for next day options, which is currently our policy, and 29 comments were in support of trying next day only reservations. 30 comments showed a desire to keep the status quo or even increase it to 5 days in advance, and 24 comments were explicitly in favor of 1 to 3 days in advance. 11 people expressed concern about changing Fridays, which we know is the day when reservations can be made 5 days in advance. And 17 of these comments were about other things, not necessarily the reservations window. Next slide, please. So next I want to tell you what we heard in these comments. We heard your deep-rooted and not unfounded concerns about having time to find alternative transportation for doctor's appointments. We heard your established habits and practice to call at the very first opportunity when the reservations window opens, which means 7:30 a.m., 3 days or 5 days in advance. We heard your ardent desire for flexibility to schedule in advance or on the spur of the moment. We heard your continued push for online reservation capabilities. And we heard your skepticism that a shorter reservations window would reduce cancellations. And we heard that your disbelief that cancellations have a significant negative impact on the ability to efficiently schedule trips with our current scheduling software. Next slide, please. So our data analysis suggests that ending the 5-day scheduling window on Fridays will result in an improved telephone experience. It will help us create efficiencies as we work towards updates to the scheduling and dispatching software and continue our efforts to increase the number of operators out on the road. We also know that the longer the reservation window, the more life happens and trips are canceled or maybe even forgotten. The number of trips canceled or no-showed by our customers has been much higher than the number of trip denials for several months. When trips are canceled or not taken, it is difficult, especially with our current dispatching software, to fill in those spaces with trips that are needed by others. Next slide, please. So how do we reconcile what we heard with the data and our knowledge of our current system and resources? Well, we have heard loud and clear that you are opposed to next day only reservations at this time. Next slide. So the plan. Metro will keep the choice to schedule trips as early as 3 days in advance and as late as the day before. And I would like to add that if you call on the day of and it's available, you can get a same-day trip. The only change will be that you will no longer be able to book trips 5 days in advance on Fridays. We believe that this middle ground choice will preserve what seems most important to you, to be able to have enough notice to make alternative arrangements if needed. We also believe this middle ground will result in better phone hold times and call times. And we believe that it will be a positive step towards helping us deliver more trips with our current resources. So this change will go into effect on July 5th. That means that starting on Friday, July 5th, when you call, you would be able to make reservations for Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. You can call as early as Saturday to book a trip for Tuesday, and you can call as early as Sunday to book for Wednesday. We'll watch the effectiveness of this change and we'll revisit this in 6 months. And we welcome your feedback and dialogue throughout this period. So I look forward to the day when you can feel confident that you can call the day before and get the ride that you need. I understand that will take time. Again, progress, not perfection, yet. That's what I got.
All right, well, thank you very much, Amy, and I'm sure there'll be loads of questions that we'll get to very quickly. Want to talk about our next series. We're going to do this monthly. So in August, we'll have another series. I guess that's not monthly, quarterly. Dates for the 3 in-person and 1 virtual Connect open house will be determined, and we'll communicate that to you as soon as possible. So thanks to my team. Thank you so much for sharing these updates. Remember that most of the information you learned today is available on our website at metrostlouis.org. You're ready to open up for questions and comments. Whitney and Tracy will be filtering some of the chat room comments and looking for your raised hand. Whitney, what else do we need to know about Q&A?
Just a few of those reminders. If you haven't entered comments in the chat and you'd like to, you can do so at any time, or you can use the raise your hand to speak function. Again, to do a shortcut for that on your keyboard, you can use Alt-Y on Windows or Option-Y on a Mac. Or if you're just calling in on the phone, use *9 to raise and lower your hand. When you are selected, please go ahead and unmute and then mute after your question so everyone can hear the answer. So we'll start looking. Tracy, do you have any chat room comments first? And then I'll start looking
Yes.
for hands up to filter in.
I sure do. So Mr. Steve Hemmel made a couple suggestions, and certainly Mr. Hemmel, if you would like to unmute and speak to those, you may, but I'll go ahead and read them out loud. The first one was to restore fixed route service to Fenton. Also to maybe offer options for reduced fare day passes in non-electric form, so in paper form. And the other suggestion he had or question was, how about printing schedules again? So having things in paper form. Mr. Hemmel, I don't know if you wanted to unmute and speak to that at all, or if you were comfortable with me saying that for you. Okay. There's also Robin Whalen has a couple questions regarding call-a-ride. So Robin, I know if you would like to go ahead and unmute and ask those, that's perfectly fine, or I can read them out loud for you either way.
Tracy, you can go ahead and read them.
Okay, thank you. So Robin states, one question is, why is it so difficult to hire call-a-ride drivers when the requirements are less? Unlike bus drivers, they do not need a CDL, but only a Class E license. This seems to be contradictory to what you are saying. Why does call-a-ride continue to be understaffed? So many reasons have been given, including the drug testing. However, the drivers for other vehicles seem to be passing these tests. So again, there seems to be a disconnect. There has to be a reason why drivers are choosing not to drive call-a-ride or not staying once they are hired.
So I'll take that. I think true, the qualifications are different, but you know, there's a process that we've gone through. We went through this process with bus. It started with us creating, it started with the contract, raising wages, providing incentives in order to attract people. It started with us changing our training efforts, our training processes. It started with us building a mentorship program. So there were a number of things that were involved other than just the advertise for a job process. We're going through that same sequence with Colorado right now. Of course, we're trying to attract with the $5,000 sign-on bonus. We're trying to retain with additional benefits. We're trying to train better so that they will stay with us longer. We're creating mentorship programs. We're retraining. It's a process that takes time, and I think that we will have the same success with our call-a-ride operators that we had with our bus operators because we're pretty much going through the same process.
Okay, thank you. Robin has an additional comment and question. It is only a minimum requirement for the 3/4 of a mile call-a-ride service area where you can do more service, especially when there are no other alternatives in certain areas. When will Metro start using other providers to fill in those gaps? VIA works for very few people. The cities who have made the most impact have used various providers, taxis, services like UServe and other ride shares. These cities are able to provide the most services and a better outcome overall.
I think that's a resource issue at this point. We have been trying to use VIA to supplement some of our call-a-ride rides. We're still looking into that. We're looking into maybe bringing a service like VIA in-house. These are all things that are part of our long-range planning at this point. Many of the subcontractor or contractor operations that we could be contracting with are having some of the same issues that we are in terms of attracting and retaining. So it's something that we are continually looking into and will continue to look into as we move forward, and we'll be able to expand call-a-ride, provide better service as we bring on additional drivers, and we'll continue with that effort as we continue to down the road of providing the best possible service that we can.
There's one last comment from Robin, suggestion. These community connects need to be advertised on radio, TV, social media, and on the announcements for call-a-ride callers so that more people are reached.
So our marketing and communication team has unlimited resources, so I'm sure they'll look into that and see what they can do.
Yeah, thank you, Robin. We have been advertising on our local media stations. They've been picking them up. So actually yesterday, prior to our event, they were airing details for people to come down. We also have some signage on our system But we're going to continue to build momentum and get the word out as we build these meetings. So thank you for that feedback.
Okay, and then we have a few comments for Mr. Jack Hall. Let's see here. A compliment. Used caller ride for the first time yesterday. The driver was diligent and patient. He had 2 wheelchair riders and me, and he did a great job. So thank you for that, Mr. Hall. He also asks, why aren't escalators a viable option at our stations? And is the elevator at Terminal 2 Lambert Metrolink working?
I can talk about the escalator issue. As you know, the escalators that were at 8th and Pine and Convention Center had been not operational for several years, and we would work on them, get them operating, and then they would break down again. We went through several different iterations and studies in regards to what was the best thing to do with them. We had escalator companies come in and give us options on replacing them. In the long run, it was decided that there was no product in escalators and the escalator manufacturers that would fit our circumstances. And that is that all of our locations are open to weather, and we get rain, we get snow, ice. And when we do that, we have to salt the surrounding areas, and all that salt just corrodes and causes issues with the escalators. We could not find a manufacturer that would basically ensure that we would not have ongoing maintenance issues. So we decided to go back with staircases.
Okay, thank you. Jessica, a question for you. Is the half-cent sales tax slated just for the north-south line?
Oh, so that was Proposition 1 from 2017. It's an economic development sales tax. So the primary purpose was for north-south Metrolink, yes. But there was also neighborhood revitalization, workforce development, and some infrastructure that were itemized generally. And that is controlled by the Economic Development Tax Board, the EcoDevo Board, which is an appointed and citizens group under the purview of the city. So they meet once a year and sort of determine how those sales taxes are allocated. But yeah, the primary purpose under the current and previous mayoral administrations has been toward saving up for the local match for this Green Line project. Good question.
I'd just like to remind people that they can raise their hand and unmute to speak as well. They don't necessarily need me to read their questions if they would prefer to talk for themselves, but I will go ahead and say that Blaine McVeigh stated, I am excited to see the expansion in Metrobus frequency and service. I hope to see more in upcoming quarterly adjustments. Thank you for that, Blaine. There were a few inquiries about how to seek a job at Metro, and we did post the link in the chat. It is metrostlouis.org/careers. We'd be happy for you to apply. Mr. Hall, would you like to speak? Can you unmute? Let's see, let me see if I can help you with that.
I just did. Thank you. Well, I posted a question on somebody else just to bring, I'm sure that you've heard these complaints before, that many stations, and especially one that I use often, in and around Grand Avenue. The elevators are filled with urine, mostly 75% of the time, because of the unhoused that live below the Grand Avenue overpass. The implementation of porta potties would really, really help alleviate that situation. And I'm sure it would take coordination with the city as well. I know it's not really Metrolink's thing, but it's an issue that's really a problem.
So, Mr. Hall, this is Chuck Stewart. We certainly understand. We are certainly aware of that problem, and we will coordinate with the city, or we're seeking, in terms of public bathrooms as part of our particular operation, we're seeking funding, applying for grants for things like that to see if we can do a better job of accommodating public restrooms, or at least restrooms for our customer base.
Go ahead,
All right.
Robin, your hand's raised.
Okay, I know that at the meeting yesterday, JMO took a letter that I had written about my experiences on Coloride. Two things that I think are really critical are on the new vans, the seat belts do not all work. They do twist very quickly. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't say anything because they want to ride. And honestly, I've had drivers try to help me, and I have done them myself. I had one yesterday that actually came out fine, but when I tried to actually feed it back in as I got off, somehow it got twisted in the mechanism. This is a real problem, and it's a dangerous situation. The other thing that I know I've talked with Tracy about, and I really want you guys to address this, is that drivers do not seem to know what an activated Metro Coloride ticket looks like. Because every time I have activated my ticket, probably at least 3 times now, they have said to me, well, scroll down. Where does it say activate? And I've had to explain to them, if you see a QR code, it is activated. And that is a problem. So that's something that needs to be addressed. And also the last thing, and this is important, is that yesterday I was asked by a driver if I needed the ramp or not. The problem with that is that what typically happens if people are given that choice is that eventually drivers stop doing it for the people that need it, or they try to avoid doing it. I really feel like there needs to be a standard policy. Yes, you need to, if you have that van, you need to use the ramp, or no, you don't. Because while it works for some people, it doesn't work for other people. And I just see it as becoming more of a problem and more of an issue than it needs to be.
This is Chuck Stewart. So Robin, we appreciate your comments. I think we are in possession of your letter. You know, some of the things that you're talking about were pointed out to us by our consultant, the ADA guru, when he did his preliminary work, reviewing Coloride and our other services for ADA customers. We are re-engaging with him to provide us with additional services, and we'll be working on those kind of things in terms of consistency amongst our drivers. We'll be retraining. We'll be using all techniques available in order to improve our customer service and alleviate the kinds of concerns that you're expressing.
This is Tracy again. We have a few questions from Starry in the chat, and she said that she'd prefer for them just to be read at this time. So the first one is, what is BSD and Metro doing to improve the infrastructure and function of bus stops, and how they can easily be recognized from a distance, given that bus stops come in so many various forms?
I can answer that one quickly, if that's okay, Chuck.
Thank you.
So we are working to make ADA improvements, a lot of which is infrastructure for accessing our bus stops to all stops across the system. We've been squirreling away capital funds and seeking grant funds and trying to build up that money. So we prioritize by how used a stop is, you know, how much use it gets, making sure we are prioritizing key demographics, and also, you know, basically the severity of the infrastructure problem at each stop. Specifically, I'm reading for the signage. About 5 years ago now, we introduced on the Missouri side a different shaped sign that has a rounded top and a really distinct red, high contrast red color at the top that has in sort of ADA compliant font and size the bus stop ID at the very top. So that's meant to be, you know, if nothing else, you can see the stop ID and you can make sure you can access all the information you can get from having that one simple code. So I'd love to get more feedback from Ms. Walton. We could offline if there are specific stops that are trickier to see from a distance, but we did really take into consideration with the color contrast, the height and the shape of the signs, how to make them more recognizable from a distance and more usable up close. So we continue to welcome all improvements. And please know that that is a big long-term project that we are chipping away at.
Jessica, I can get you Starry's information after the meeting if you'd like. This is Tracy again. So the second question that Starry had is, how do you see Metro security as part of the wider community?
So I'm not, this is Chuck Stewart. I'm not sure exactly what is meant by that question, but I think Metro Security has proven that it is a partner with the community as it relates to security, not only for our assets and our facilities, but also for the support that it gives to local law enforcement in various situations. Everyone is well aware of the extent of our camera system and our ability to assist law enforcement when situations occur on or around our properties. So I think we are doing our job, our best, to be a part of the solution. And crime is basically a regional problem. It's a national problem. We're doing what we can to assist the region to alleviate as much of those situations as we can. So I think we are a part of the community, and we are proud to be a part of the community as it relates to that.
Okay, thank you. The third question that Starry had is, what are some ideas to create rider engagement during commutes, such as engagement with the service, benefits for using the service, and creating an inviting atmosphere for riders?
I'll take that. Hi, Starry. This is Whitney Wilson. My team of 5 people works very hard to be in the community and at our transit centers as much as possible. So we do some things here and there. A lot of things that we do are seasonal. But if there are things that are happening at the moment, for example, on June 20th is Dump the Pump Day internationally. So what we do when things like that come up is try to think of creative ways to engage our riders, but also to use our media friends to bring people to transit. So we have a campaign that we're preparing for that, as well as planning some fun stuff on the system. We have one of our partners, Citizens for Modern Transit. They're always thinking of fun, creative ways to get out on the system, usually on a quarterly basis, to give fun items to our riders to encourage them to use transit more with contests and giveaways. And, but you know, we're always open to ideas. We like to work with our sports teams, of course, to remind people to take transit to the Cardinals games, the Battlehawks games, the soccer games. And they're always willing to work with us because of the parking situations that most of them face with their fan bases. Soon, and what we're currently trying to do is work with local businesses along our routes and along our alignment to bring in some of the fun stuff, the activities or the new products that they might have into our transit centers to promote them. So we're always open to ideas, but it's definitely important to keep those things going, to keep people returning to transit.
All right, thank you. This is Tracy again. Barbara, I see that your hand is raised. We have one more question from Starry, and then I'll unmute you so that you can talk. Okay, all righty. The last question from Starry is, how do you see public transit contributing to reversing the population decline and bringing access to businesses?
I'm happy to share my thoughts on this. I mean, and then Chuck, you can jump in if you'd like. I think if you're answering this question, Starry, then you understand how critical public transit is to the vitality of economic development in a region. So I don't believe that Metro is saying we can reverse all of the trends that might be happening in our region, but we certainly think we are a critical part of the solution. You know, I believe the stat is for every dollar invested in public transit, there's $5 of economic return. And so I know you're asking about population decline specifically, but we are a regional system, St. Louis City, St. Louis County, St. Clair County, Illinois. We know that we serve customers that traverse that region that might originate in one part and have a job in another jurisdiction. And so access to businesses and other critical services and educational opportunities, those aren't necessarily in your neighborhood because that's not how regions work, right? They don't end at a jurisdictional line. So we believe that we are a part of that, and all of the steps that you've heard outlined today that Metro's been working on for the last 2+ years to rebuild workforce, to rebuild our service frequency, to make our service more dependable and reliable. Those are all factors that hopefully earn new and earn back trust of riders to make sure that they know they can integrate transit into their daily lives and sort of plan their lives around it. So you might be able to start thinking about schools, residential options, employment opportunities that are accessible by transit. And that helps with the population question you were talking about. But I love that question. It seems like you got a good handle on the value of transit.
Thanks, Jess. Chuck, did you have anything else you
No,
wanted to add?
that was a
Okay.
great answer that Jessica gave.
All right, this is Tracy again. Barbara, I'm going to see if we can get you unmuted so that you could ask your question. All right, there you go.
I assume I can be heard now. I want to ask about vehicle tracking for caller ride. This is one thing that always has been very frustrating. Let's say I've got a 1:15 pick-up time, so that means I need to be ready by 1 p.m. and I could be picked up until 1:30. So I don't know when in that 30-minute window that I'm actually going to get picked up. I would love to have vehicle tracking, let's say with a 10-minute alert or something. So I know that I have to be ready at 1, or I don't need really to be ready to be, say, till 1:25. But what I have to do now is sit around. I have to be ready at 1 and sit around and wait. And if I'm not being picked up to 1:25, that's really a tough thing to do. So if we had vehicle tracking with, say, a 10-minute alert, either electronically on through an app or through a phone call, I'm open to any kind of vehicle tracking at this stage, that would really make the experience much better.
I'll take this one. This is Sean with Colorado. Right now we have Trapeze as our software, but we're currently looking at some new software, one being EcoLane, the other one being Spare. And the softwares that we have looked at, they do offer those capabilities. So once we get that installed, it should be able to provide our customers with that phone call to let you know when your vehicle was nearby so you can get ready and come on out. So with that new software, that should improve on some of the things that you're talking about.
Mark has his hand raised. Go ahead, Mark.
Hi, am I unmuted now?
You are.
Yes.
Okay. I believe it was Mr. Stewart said earlier, he was talking about staffing, bus drivers, call a ride drivers and such. And I believe the comment was that, Metro was pretty good with bus drivers. But as someone who has ridden the buses in Metrolink for many, many years. I mean, obviously, the service is not what it used to be. There are a number of routes that have been reduced in frequency. There have been other routes that have been altered or eliminated altogether. And I know this all has to do with, of course, money, like everything does. But I'm wondering if there's any intention or plan to restore some of the previous bus service. The number what's now the number 30, the Arsenal bus is one that I used to ride quite frequently. It only runs once an hour now. The number 31 bus only runs once an hour. And I've like many other people, I've actually experienced where, a run just doesn't show up because I guess there was not a driver available, that sort of thing. So when Mr. Stewart says, we're good with the bus drivers, I'm not exactly sure what that means. If there's still situations where, runs are skipped because there's not a driver available, or like I said, or any plans to restore some routes to more frequency. I think that's my question, and I'll stop talking now.
Mark, thank you for that question. I think this is a good question probably for our planning team. Maybe Jessica, you could chime in on this.
Sure thing. Yeah, so I think that, not to speak for anyone, but the comment about our level of bus operator resources, everything's interconnected, right? And so while there's been a lot of success in being able to bring back service on bus, and we're implementing a lot of that on June 17th, we are also constrained by supportive mechanics, by what we can do to expand the call rate network, et cetera. So I think there's a nuance there. Specifically, the two routes you listed, you're right, in South City and into South County, those are still at a lower frequency. They're not one of the 15 routes that this time around are seeing an increase of service. So I'm sorry about that, but there are others in South City that are going to have some increase in frequency restored. So perhaps there's others that you might benefit from. I'm sorry to hear that you're still experiencing some issues with reliability and runs not showing up. And my colleague Trinice Winters, who runs all the operations, might want to speak to that. But overall, the answer to your question is yes. We are looking to kind of nothing's going to be back where it was before the pandemic necessarily. We're in a different time. We have different needs. We have different travel patterns and different demands. And so we have to kind of build to what is needed today. But the more we hear from folks and watch our passenger loads and see where we need to be both building up the frequency of existing routes and also perhaps adding back routes if it is possible, again, dependent on mechanics caller ride resources and keeping up our numbers of bus operator resources, we would like to do so because we know that the network could be more robust. So we're not trying to make any promises here, but please do know that the more you let us know where the problems are and where you're looking for more service, that helps us match up with our observations, with the data we're collecting, and make plans for the future. So we have a quarterly service change. We're talking now about what we might be able to do in early December. So just to give you a sense of like how far out we're talking. But yeah, we'd love to keep up the dialogue and the input from customers. And Trinise, I just wanted to give you an opportunity if you wanted to chime in if I missed anything.
Sure. I just want to mention that when we talk about reliability, even pre-COVID, there are times that the bus may not show up because there's an accident or an incident that happened along the line, right? Where the bus had to be taken out of service and we had to pull out another bus from the facility. So all of those, any missed trip is just not necessarily about manpower. It has been in recent years, but as Mr. Stewart noted, we have really increased our bus operator manpower, our numbers for bus operators. So it's not always a manpower issue. A lot of times it's an accident or some other issue that happened along the route. However, we do strive daily to dispatch every bus out of that garage. And we are making changes hourly to the dispatchers are making changes hourly to ensure that that bus gets out of the garage. So we are paying much attention to that, a lot of attention to that.
Great, thank you. This is Tracy again. Marilyn, it looks like you have your hand raised as well.
Hello. I have a few questions. The first question I have would be about Metro's commitment to passenger safety. And the reason I ask this is because I sit in the front of the bus in the disabled area. And frequently I will see the bus driver, it'll happen on, usually the routes that I go on, I've seen it. So I'm usually on 74, 95. I'll see the bus driver driving and talking with what appears to be a friend, relative, or something while they're driving. And this person will be standing up right next to the driver. So I'm curious about passenger safety commitment on the part of Metro, because I don't think this is a policy. Maybe it is. I don't know. I just assume that it's against policy to have the drivers talking with what appears to be a friend or a relative or something while they're driving. So distracted driving, I think, is what could come into play there. And I'm concerned about Metro's commitment to passenger safety because, a lot of the accidents happen because of distracted driving. Just generally, if people are on their phones or if they're doing things besides paying attention to driving. So if you're, having a conversation friendly with a friend of yours and you're driving, I don't think that's a good commitment to passenger safety. I've reported it at least twice to Metro, using the chat feature on my phone. Today there was another incident that happened that was different, and I asked for a, a report of all of my complaints that I've given to Metro, and what resolution there was, and none of those were given in my report that I got from Metro. They they weren't even like, it seemed like they weren't addressed. Now there, it could be a mistake that perhaps, the record wasn't in there. But I'm just curious, the public, you're asking for feedback. So when you ask the public to report instances using the chat feature of the phone or online, what's done with those reports? Because here personally, I can tell you that I don't know what was done there. I would think that's not part of the driver training. I would think that, you're not supposed to train people to do that. However, that comes to my second concern about Metro's commitment to passenger safety. One of my recent complaints was about a driver supervisor that was training a new driver. This happened last week or the week before. I do have a record of that complaint. I use a cane, and recently my primary care provider ordered me a walker with a chair on it. This is because I had fallen several times. That's to help me from falling. So depending on the day, I'll use the walker or I'll use the cane. I've been getting a little better, so I've been using the cane this past week. So the situation that I'm referring to is I came on the bus, got on the bus. There was a new driver being trained, and there was a driver trainer and supervisor training them. So I got on. The new driver being trained was very friendly. So I think, that's great. You're hiring some people that are really positive and good for Metro. Going to be good future drivers. My concern was the driver trainer's supervisor. She saw that I had a cane, and she was standing beyond the line right in front of next to the driver, and she was kind of blocking my way to get through the bus. And I thought, well, this is odd, because I assumed she was the supervisor because she had the papers on there and a badge and all these things, and she was observing the new driver, and the new driver seemed like a new driver because I was paying attention to what was going on. But the supervisor was like blocking my way to get by. She wouldn't move aside, and I said, "Excuse me." And her behavior was what I would describe as rude. And shortly thereafter, I learned that she was also obnoxious. So I was able to get by her finally. And then I was trying to sit in the disabled seating. Most of the seats were taken, but there was a big bag, like a giant, not giant, but a backpack in one of the seats that was available. And that was the day that it was also raining or going to rain. So I had a cane and I had my umbrella. So I pointed to the bag with my umbrella. I said, "I need to sit here." And it turned out that was a bag that belonged to the Metro driver trainer supervisor. And she had a lot of attitude and said a bunch of things like, I don't even remember anymore. Like, why are you pointing at my bag or what have you? That's my bag or something like that. And I thought to myself, this obnoxious person sees a person with a disability needing to sit down. First, she blocks me as I'm trying to get on the bus. Secondly, she's having all this being obnoxious about her bag that's taking up a priority seat when her bag could go in a different spot. There's another spot as you enter the bus where you can put bags or something, but it definitely shouldn't be in a disabled seating. So then she moved the seat off of the disabled chair, and she said some other things. And I said, I'm going to report this because you can explain it to Metro. So I reported it to Metro, and I haven't heard follow-up back. But as I'm reporting it, I was explaining to the Metro person. This time I used the telephone to report it. I'm explaining to them that I don't understand how you could have such a rude and obnoxious driver trainer supervisor training new drivers. This is not the type of person you want to train a new driver, or I would hope it's not. To make a long story short, I asked to get a call back from the ADA supervisor and from the driver supervisor and from the safety supervisor. I received no call from anyone, no contact from anyone. I'm just curious about Metro's commitment to passenger safety. The last thing I'm going to comment about is on bus 95, I was waiting for the bus to come. It was going northbound, and I was waiting for the bus as it approaches North Bridge at Kings Highway. There's a post office there. I was waiting at that bus stop, and I had my cane. The bus comes to the bus stop, and driving fast, makes an abrupt stop. The door opens. A senior citizen woman, this is like 2.5 weeks ago. She turned out she was had to be between 66 and 75 years old. A woman slams forward into the front area as you're entering the bus, where you tap your money on the machine or tap your card. She hits her head there and she's on the ground. And it happens right in front of me. I literally witnessed this. And then she gets up and she's holding her head like this. And the driver says, are you okay? And the senior citizen lady, seems to be dazed. She goes, oh, I think I'm okay. The driver's getting ready to drive away. Myself and about 5 other people on the bus say, driver, you cannot drive away. You've got to report this and you've got to call 911, call an ambulance. You know better. And the driver says, she says she's fine. And I'm thinking to myself, this driver is going to drive away, not report this accident, not call 911 because she doesn't want to get a report filed. And I'm thinking, there's cameras on here. Who's watching these cameras? What's the purpose of them? Finally, all 6 of us on the bus say, you've got to report this. The driver stops, doesn't pull away, gets on the phone, reports it to someone. And I'm thinking, did you call 911? So we're sitting on the bus for about 10 minutes. And then finally people start to get off the bus to go somewhere else. I get off the bus and I call 911 and I said, I just want to make sure that an ambulance was called. There's an accident here on the bus 95. And I said, can you confirm that an ambulance is on the way? And they confirmed where the location was. And they said, we have an ambulance going this. And I said, no, I'm right across from the Kings Highway post office on Kings Highway going north, right before North Bridge. They said, no, we don't have an ambulance there, but we're going to send one there right now. I explained to them what happened. And I said, there's a problem with this bus driver. I told them exactly what I just told you. The accident happened. The lady fell forward. The reason she fell forward is there was not a senior seat open for her because people that were not disabled were sitting there. Young people were sitting in a senior seat. So she was standing up, is what the other people on the bus told me. I was like, how does this happen? They said, oh, well, these young people here were sitting on the chair and they wouldn't get up for her. Metro's commitment to passenger safety. All these things are recorded with the cameras on there. I'm just curious about Metro's commitment to passenger safety. What happened to that driver? I think that driver should have been fired. But I don't know what Metro's commitment to passenger safety is. These are the type of people you have a percentage. It could be 10% of your workforce. Let's say you have, 500 drivers. That would be 50 drivers that are bad apples. It's only 10%, but that's 50 drivers out of 500. You have some problem drivers in there that are not committed to passenger safety. You have driver trainer supervisors that are not committed to passenger safety. You have them in positions of authority training new drivers. In any business, in a regular business, people would be fired starting at the top. Accountability. And I'm just wondering what you guys are doing about this.
Can
and I'll
we
stop.
address that? Can you give us an opportunity to address that, please?
Go ahead.
Trinice Winters, who is our Assistant Executive Director over Transit Operations, is going to try to answer your question, talk about our commitment, and then we're gonna follow up with you personally so we can take other actions as deemed necessary. So Trinice?
Yes, Ms. Murillo, thank you very much for bringing this to our attention. We are very much committed to passenger safety. The first concern you brought up is definitely against our policy for someone to stand there and have a conversation with the operator while they're driving the bus. So I have just received all three of your concerns that you called in from our customer service area. They were noted, and I just received them. They were sent to our facilities, but I want to speak with you personally about them and ensure that we follow up with the appropriate facilities and operators to address these issues that you just brought up. So I do have your email and telephone number, and if you don't mind, I would like to give you a call after this meeting. Is that okay with you?
Yes, I have recently changed my phone number, so send me an email and I'll give you my updated phone number to make sure you have it, please.
Okay, I'll do that now.
Very good.
Great. Thank you. This is Tracy again. In the interest of time, we have a couple more questions. Robin's question is, I think, related to Barbara's question, which is in the Q&A, but Barbara also has her hand up. So Barbara, I'm going to ask you to unmute and go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, yeah, I put it in the Q&A because I wasn't sure how the time was going to be. And that is, since this process for the new vehicle routing software apparently takes a long time, and I don't know anything about the process, I'm wondering what sort of engagement steps that you're going to do to include the disability community on the selection of this. I know we're not going to have the final say, I get that, but I'm just saying there's certainly some maybe options or choices or things that we might point out that might not be thought of by those in management. So what is the expected engagement process for the disability community on making that selection?
So Amy, can you help us with how we've done this in the past and what our thinking is as we go forward?
I could. I think Lisa had
Okay,
had
okay,
some
Lisa.
good ideas. I saw her unmuting.
Okay, all right,
We'll
Lisa's
we'll
ready to
tag
go.
team.
Come on, Lisa.
Sounds good. Yeah, Barbara, that's a really good question. We've gotten that question from a few other people. So we have done just collected a lot of information from folks in the past who complained about the way that our current software system for dispatching and reservations works. We have a lot of complaints from our internal staff about what's not working, as well as from Colorado customers. And we're continuing to engage in that process. We don't have a formal process set up for the selection right now because we're trying to get it done. So right now, I think I'm going to answer Robin's question too about who we're looking at. So there is a co-op, a purchasing co-op that we're going through to try to accelerate the process of getting this new software, but still make sure that it is competitively procured and vetted in all of the ways. That purchasing co-op is called 791 Co-op, and the vendors that are their respondents so far to our quote are Spare Labs. UServe has responded, but it's not for software, it's for some other sorts of things. I know Robin always asks about UServe. Ecolane, Via, and then there is one more. Those are the ones I remember right now, but there may be another one. So those are the ones who have responded so far based upon our request for a proposal. We will continue engaging with our customers and the larger disability community about transportation options in general. You know, so Colorado right now, as Robin has pointed out, is pretty limited in our capacity to provide transportation for folks who need point-to-point service. And we are trying to make sure that we're providing what the federal requirement is, and we're still working on that. And there's a lot of need beyond that. So seeing what we can do and how we can partner with other agencies, maybe look at other transportation providers and how we might sort of have a more seamless model of transportation for people with disabilities or for you know, older adults, even folks who are conditionally eligible. It's part of our long-term plan to see where we fit into that larger picture. And so we'll continue engagement on that. But for the software itself, we are currently in the middle of procurement. And so we don't have any plans currently for a formal engagement process with our customers during the procurement process.
Okay.
I can tell you some of the things we are looking at, if that's interesting to you. We're definitely looking at that sort of real-time, you know, where the real-time vehicle locations are, so that if you have an app or something on your computer that you're open, you can actually see where the van is in relation to you. We're looking at automated texting and calls based upon when your van is, you know, within 5 to 10 minutes of arriving, so that you know ahead of time that it's not the van that's already there. We're looking at things together with our software, but other options like customers being able to text to either check on where their ride is or text to cancel their ride, right? So you wouldn't have to wait for the whole phone queue necessarily to do that. And for the software, we're also looking at online booking, so you wouldn't have to go through the call center to book your trip as well. So there's all kinds of things like that, including, I think Robin had asked about real-time traffic capabilities. All of the ones that we're looking at do have real-time traffic capabilities, so that somebody can get automatically rerouted based upon you know, traffic hazards or an accident that's happening, and all of that. Starry is asking if the new software could be a company software that can support the whole transit system or only Colorado. What we're looking at right now is specifically for Colorado for dispatching and reservations. The system that we use, Trapeze Pass, is something that's used by the whole company right now, or it's part of a suite of options used by the whole company, but it's not working for us. So we're looking specifically with Colorado customers in mind for this software procurement right now.
Lisa, I think we want to add that as we get the software in, installed in a test environment, we'll be reaching out to some of our customers to assist us with the testing. So they'll be at the front end of knowing what the software is capable of doing. And we'll be soliciting that support to assist us with that.
Okay. More questions?
We're pretty quiet in the chat right now. Oh,
Robin has
Robin
her
has,
hand raised.
yeah. Go ahead, Robin.
I just wanted to actually give you a compliment and ask a question because I know Tracy, you and I have talked about this. First of all, I do love the e-fair. I think that the e-fair is actually going to be a revenue generator in a way that you guys haven't even realized. In that if you buy the 10 ride tickets and you've already paid, you're more likely, if you don't ride all the time, to schedule a ride. My question is, I know that when I signed up for e-fair, we had to go to the process of where I email you and we went back and forth. And one of the things that I had talked to you a little bit about was about why you couldn't just go ahead and purchase the Call a Ride tickets on the app without having to be granted access. And I know there was a concern that other people who weren't qualified would do that. And one of the things that I brought up is that there's really no vetting of the people who actually buy the reduced fare passes. And I have seen, it's been a long time since I rode Metrolink or Metrobus, but I have seen many people who do not qualify for reduced fare buy reduced fare tickets and passes. So I just wanted to know, is there eventually going to be an easier way? Because I think that having to email you and then be emailed back actually discourages people from using the e-fare.
Oh, okay, good question.
I'd like to answer this, I think, and Lisa can, or Lisa, you could go. I just want to say that I'm very hopeful that when we get the new software, we're going to have a less cumbersome way for e-fare to work. And that's on the short list of things as well.
Yeah, I'll back that up, Amy. I think that regardless of, we need to test out the new software once we get it to make sure everything is working. That's what Therese was saying, is we want to have customers that would help us test out to make sure everything is working correctly. But whether we use an e-fare through our new Call a Ride software, or whether we continue with sort of the Masabi e-fare that we're using right now, there will be an easier process in the future. A lot of this is we were testing it out because we're not sure exactly how it works, and we don't want to roll something out there that people think that they have an option and then they don't. So just unqualifiedly, yes, it will be easier in the future for all customers, including Call a Ride customers.
All right.
Okay, I think we're about at the end of our time.
We have one comment in, a couple comments in the chat. If I
Okay.
could just say those really quickly, Chuck. Marilyn says, I want to mention that there are also many excellent Metro bus drivers that are very helpful and very polite. Most of my experiences on Metro have been very positive. And then Starry says, thank you for your progress with Metrolink. I think it runs well. I look forward to the new LRVs and announcement systems.
Fantastic. Great comments. I like those. Great way to end the session. I think we're about at the end of our time now. And I'd like to thank everyone for attending, and we certainly appreciate your input, and where we have promised to follow up, we will do that. We appreciate your collaboration, and we look forward to further conversations. I want to thank my team. You did a great job. Thank you for being available and being so resourceful and providing the information today. We'll be working to get this recording of this session packaged up and posted on our website as soon as we can. If there's any other housekeeping things that we need to talk about, Whitney, Tracy, Amy?
Yeah, we will have, as Chuck mentioned earlier, we will have our next set of meetings in August. So we will be announcing those soon as well. Be on the lookout.
Okay. All right. Again, thank you, everybody. Thank you for attending. Thank you for your input. Thanks, team, for your efforts, and everybody have a nice day. Take care.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you.